Hey everybody, this is Judy from Judy M Art Studio, and I'm going to do a little bit of a tutorial today on how to make an ornament. I'm going to be using Crimson Red from Ranger Alcohol Ink, Clover, some snow cap, possibly some pitch black if I need it for shading, and then finally some Pinata Brass, which I absolutely love. This is one of my favorite metallics to use. So I'm going to take my palette and put a couple of drops in. You can see I've already done the other side, so I have some in my palette already. I'm going to activate it with just a little bit more. I'm going to dip it in, and you want to eyeball where your center is. So I'm going to put a little dot approximately where I think the center is, just so I can work from that point. Now, making poinsettias are simply leaves, and they start off as the inside are red leaves, that beautiful crimson color, and then the outside are green leaves. And if you can see, there are just leaves on this. So I'm going to make a leaf shape, and all you're going to do is you're going to go up, make sort of a half circle, and come up to a point, and then come down. And I make all of my leaves all the way around first before I fill them in. So up, and don't worry if your leaves are not perfect, because in nature nothing is perfect. Everything has its own unique character. And the alcohol inks, of course, are being alcohol inks, and they're doing their own thing. I'm going to bring this one up here to try to stay, so that's my center. Just going to keep going around. And don't worry if the edges look a little rough at this point, because we can go back and fill those in a little bit later. Make them a little more even, a little bit more smooth. Probably got 2 more leaves to do on the main petal. And I'm going to do 1 more right here, sort of coming out between these 2. There we go. And I'm just going to bring this one back around because those 2 are sort of hiding each other. All right, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with my alcohol inks now, and my crimson, I'm just going to fill in those leaves so they can start drying. Now, if you notice, when I've done this, the crimson has kind of pooled on the edges, and it sort of gives us a natural line to our flower, which is really neat. All right, so now if you look on this side, you can see that I filled in with a couple of small little leaves poking out. So I think there are a couple places where I'd like to put those before I put the green on. This is really fine work. You have to really go slow. Take your time. When I paint flowers using my airbrush, those are fun because I can go sort of fast and just let the inks work. And so this is a little bit of a different process. It's really slow and fine and detailed. And I like that too. I like both ways of working. Kind of depends on the mood I'm in. They both are pretty therapeutic. There we go. All right, so there we go. There's all of the red. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush off. And I'm going to stick with the same brush because I really like it for the leaves. It's a really good diameter. And then I'm going to put some clover in. Have you ever heard that song, Crimson and Clover, over and over? My mom used to sing that all the time. Can't remember who it's by. But this flower is Crimson and Clover, which is pretty cool. I didn't plan it that way. All right, so now we're going to flip over. We're going to put those green leaves in. And you make the leaves the same way. Take a little bit of ink off though. And you're going to make them a little bit smaller though, but you're going to go up and over and then back down. Trying not to get into the red. If you get into the red, it's no big deal. We can go back and fix that. But if you can stay away from the red, that's pretty cool too. Just save you a step. Whoa, too much ink. I'll just pull it off the thing like that. Then I'll take my little micron tool, put a little bit of alcohol on it. And just, this is 99% alcohol. And I'm just going to use it sort of like an eraser. Just get rid of that. Oopsies. See what I mean about it coming right off? You can erase it right back to white. It's pretty cool. All right, let's try that again with a little less ink this time. That's looking pretty good. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put in the little veins that each of the leaves and the petals have. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to use Snowcap. Snowcap is awesome. It is one of my favorite inks to work with because it's very versatile. It's a little bit thicker than the other inks, and so when you go to use it, it gives you a little bit of a texture. The inks don't quite spread as well, and sometimes you actually want that. You want the inks to be a little bit more solid under your brush. So when you it's a mixative, which means it's meant to combine with the other inks. There's a clean bottle of it right there so you can see it. So you shake it a little, there's a little ball in there. And then I'm going to put it right here in my palette. And I'm going to use even a finer tipped Conda pen, or Conda brush, I mean. You want to make sure you have any ink off of there, because all you want to do is you want to see that white coming through. I'm going to hit it just for a second with my heat gun on a very low heat, just to be sure that we are as dry as we can be. There we go. Just want to hit it for a minute just to dry it out. And now we're going to start with the snow cap. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put little veins in. wherever the centers of the leaves are. I'm going to start with the red, and I am going to do this with the green as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the snow cap and I'm just going to go from one side to the other. Just going to hit it, and then if you have to just sort of smooth it out again. You see my veins are a little bit of a different angle on that other side right here, just to give it the feel of it being curved. So like this one, I'm going to go up like this. And then this one's going to be a little bit flatter, not quite as at an angle. And it gives it that curved feeling. So the right sides, I'm always going to have a little bit more of an angle. And the left sides are always going to be a little bit flatter. All right, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to repeat the same process for the green leaves. I don't make them come down though all the way to the flower. You want it to look like it's sort of fading into the flower. The green is behind. So do you see I sort of leave off and I sort of follow the edges on the green leaves. If it curves to the right, then I curve to the right. If it curves to the left, then I curve to the left. All right. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of this Pinata brass. There is the bottle right there. Pinata is a different brand. This is by Jacquard. The Ranger inks are a different brand. They're by Tim Holtz. So I'm going to use the Pinata brass. Tim Holtz does make mixatives that are gold and brass. I just prefer the way the brass for the Pinata reacts better. It separates better. It just, for what I do, I really like this product. Some other people prefer the Tim Holtz brand. I just prefer the Jacquard brand just for my touch. So again, I'm going to take the brass and I'm going to put it in my palette. I don't know if you can see or not, but it starts to separate a little bit because it's got the alcohol ink and then it's got little tiny flecks of metal in it. So I'm just going to put a little bit on the end. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the center. And I might need to do a couple of coats of this. I'm also going to put a little bit of black, just a tiny, tiny bit in the center, just to give it some depth. So this is the Pitch Black alcohol ink by Jacquard, by Ranger. Okay. Go back in and do another coat of the brass. I'm just going to do little dots, like the yellows of the poinsettia, but I'm going to do it in brass instead. And then what I like to do, just to give it a little bit of a shimmer, is along the leaves, I like to just add in some streaks. Just so if you have this like on a tree and there are some lights, it catches the light and it shimmers. Just very light touch again. All right, and then the last thing I love to do is just to put a little bit of the brass around the edges. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Q-tip And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right around the edges like this. And there you go. Like that. There is our poinsettia. I probably would go back and go around the outside here as a final touch, just to give it a little bit more definition and a little more sparkle. But there you have it. So if you enjoyed what you saw today, please like and subscribe down below. And thank you so much for watching. Have a creative day.